Welcome, everyone. I'm the Chief Product Officer here at Happy to be here for this conference on mobile DevOps, presenting today on integrating application security tests in your development. And I'm joined here by Andre, who is a software engineer team here at GuardSquare that builds their mobile software. And then I'll be in the background helping what comes out during or after the presentation.
Okay, so hello everyone. So my name is Andre. Thanks for having me. So today we're going to be talking about a bit about mobile application security. What is it? We're going to just bring some insight and some new views about how you can handle it, some issues, where to start regarding what to do in terms of security, and how you can easily integrate security into your CI/CD pipelines. So we're going to start by talking just a very previous overview. So we're going to start by talking what is the mobile application security, and in particular, what is the OWASP framework as a security standard. More concrete, how you can use OWASP security, the OWASP framework, to have a better insight of what you should be doing regarding your mobile application security, and how you can use it for your advantage, and how to start having an idea how to protect your app more properly. Then we're going to see some concrete examples of some mobile application security weaknesses that we can find in iOS and Android. We're going to see what they are. We're going to see how they are related to OWASP, and how OWASP can help you leverage protection against it. And there will be some brief recommendations and best practices for what you should do in terms of security, and how you can improve the security in your not only applications but only in your engineering processes. And then we're going to conclude with like a very nice example about what is a mobile application security tool that you can use, an example of one, and how you can super easily integrate it on your CI/CD environment and have incredible benefits with an integration that's super briefly and provides a lot of value, at least in my opinion, in our opinion. So the OWASP stands for Open Web Application Security Project, and it's in reality an organization more than a project, and I would even say that it's a kind of a open source organization. And their mission is to basically develop a lot of guides and tools that can help developers and companies improve the security processes and make sure that the applications they develop are secure. And slowly, I think that they become quite the industry standard. And they have a lot of guides, mobile guides, DevOps guides, web guides, whatever you need, and also tools, not only guides and guidelines, but for this concrete presentation, we're going to focus on the mobile aspects of OWASP. So regarding the mobile aspect of OWASP, there's two major topics two major guides that you need to know. And let's start with the one more on the left, which is the Mobile Application Security Verification Standards. These guys, they love acronyms, so it's all about that. And it's called MSVS. And what MSVS it does is it is composed by a set of categories, in this situation, 8 categories that we're going to talk about in a bit. And for each category, they have a certain layer of defenses that you should try to aim in your application. The MSVS will just mention these layers and describe what they should do or what they aim to do in a very abstract or like open-worded manner. So let's say that one of the categories says you shouldn't allow your mobile application to be debuggable, or the debuggable flag should be set to no, to false. Well, you might be a new developer, or might be someone new in terms of the security world, and maybe you don't know how to actually do it or what that actually implies. And for that, they developed the MSTG guide, which is Mobile Application Security Testing Guide. And what this guide does, it picks in any of one of these topics or these layers for each category, and then goes very deep into what you should really look up for and what you should aim for. For instance, which part of the code you look for, which things you should avoid. Can you static analysis this? Can you do a dynamic analysis on it? And it really provides you a concrete solution to the security issues that you might have. It's important to notice that they also mentioned some things, for instance, social engineering. Like there were some acts in the past, not that long ago, that required people social engineering to multi-factor authentication. And they also briefly talk about it, but the most interesting part is, of course, the code part. And in the right, it's just a small example that for each one of these layers, for each one of these categories, and the many layers that they have, you can have either L1, which is like if you achieve the L1 layers, means that you have basic security, which that's what's the minimum you should aim for, or you can have L2 layers, and that's like your application is actually quite well secure, let's say, or you are implementing very good industry standards in security, and then you have the R level, which is you went beyond what you have to do to really ensure security in application. So, as I said, these are the categories that you might find in MSTG. So they are pretty straightforward. The Arch stands for architecture. Is like, is your architecture well designed? Are your components interacting correctly? Are you giving more access than what you should to any component? You have storage. How are you handling your data? Do you store user credentials properly? Are they easy to access, not easy? Can someone from the outside access them? Crypto, which crypto things are you using? Are you using secure ciphers, hashes? Are you using outtake ciphers and hashes that are known to have vulnerabilities? Authentication, user accounts and how the sessions are managed. Are you properly handling them or not? Can someone hijack any of them? Can someone even hijack user accounts? Network. The MSTG network is regarding how you interact with other endpoints, other services, other servers. Are these communications secure? Do you allow HTTP or HTTPS? It's important that these things are covered, make sure that no one makes a man-in-the-middle attack. Platform, which APIs platforms are you using? Maybe using something deprecated, maybe using something that's not good, it's not proven to be also weak. The code, and the code is a very interesting one because it's about ensuring that you're doing coding best practices, but also certain compilers come with free security features that people might not be aware that they are there. They are free and should enable them because literally they are free and they might avoid the disaster both for your application or, I don't know, a company. And then you have the resilience, and the resilience is not so simple. The resilience is really making sure that you have a lot of mechanisms that over time still ensure that your application is properly secure and ready for possible attacks from outside. Now, you might be wondering, but is my mobile app a concern? All of us believe to be safe on what you're doing, good developers, and we know that, well, those are a lot of times the famous last words. So here's an example, for instance, of leaking AWS credentials. It's from September 2022, and this seems so trivial. Like, I mean, who's going to hard code AWS credentials in their application? Well, it turns out that apparently a lot of people do. 1,859 public available apps contain hard code AWS credentials. 98% of them were iOS apps, and 3/4 of these hard-coded tokens, you could actually get access to cloud services. And for 47% of these accesses, which is almost half, you could actually access information that shouldn't be available. In the MSTG storage, for instance, if you had a level 1 level, you wouldn't have this thing. This is one of the points that they cover. And it's, again, basic security. Firebase database leaking user data. So database for, Firebase, I think most of you know, it's a service from Google that provides authentication and databases and other type of services. And 14 top Android apps with 142.5 million installs are misconfigured. That means that like 9 out of 14 popular Android apps still are potentially leaking data of 30.5 million users, which is a lot. And even more, this study was just made for the Android apps, and Firebase it can be configured both for Android and iOS, which means that if we got even the iOS component on it, it will be even more. In MSTG out, this is also one of the basic levels of security that apparently it's basic, but a lot of things are lacking in a lot of applications. There's also reverse engineering, which is something that, so it might lead to an act by itself, reverse engineering, but it might also just lead to you releasing some really new feature, something very, I don't know, gives you very good advantages over the competition, and people can just reverse engineering, see how you are doing things, and maybe copy it or just do it better. And you also don't want that to happen to your products. And MSTG resilience as a set of topics that really explain how you can reduce the chances of this to happen. And then, last but not least, one very, I would say not common attack, but the one very dangerous attack is overlay attacks. basically in overlay attacks, you might open an application and you think it's inoffensive, but what the application does is recording all the inputs that you put in a screen. So it means if you, after opening this app, you go to another one, like a banking app, someone can actually hijack your credential for your bank or any other sensitive application that you're using. And the MSTG platform, and this is not done, like these things are not as easy as it might seem to predict or to protect against, but if you follow the MSTG and the OWASP guides, at least the basic levels, you are actually defending yourself against a very dangerous set of attacks that might lead to serious risks. And they are actually quite easy to prevent as long as you will need to spend a bit of time on it. So to have a strong security, you have to have some in-depth defense. It starts with the secure architecture. You want to make sure that your components are well planned and organized, that they only interact with the other components they need to, the access levels are correct. Then you have application security testing that we're going to see it later on. That's what you're going to integrate in our CI/CD, which is just basically running analysis in an APK to see if there's, or in your mobile application, to see if there's any major or direct issue that it's easy to identify and then you can easily solve it. Then you have application protection, and these two kind of go hand in hand, which is, are you protecting your app with like obfuscation, RASP checks? Are you making sure that you're making it very hard to reverse engineer your app? And you should use application security testing before the application protection and after, and see how much of secure application protection are you actually adding to your app and how much that changed the outcome of the security testing. And then you have pen testing, which is also, it's more expensive and not so easy to do and not so reachable, but it's very important that when you are having a product and that has a significant amount of users, that you will ensure that sometimes you run pen testing and you are sure of what's going on and issues that you might have. And then you have threat monitoring, which is security doesn't end when you build the app, you then ship the app, and then you have to have a live feedback of what's going on and if someone is trying to in any way break it or not. Let's just quickly look at some statistics. So these are some statistics regarding application security testing. The good thing that we can see in the first graph is who is doing security testing in most of the apps and companies. It's good to know that 43% mobile developers, which means that a lot of us are taking in our own hands to make sure that we can protect our applications, and then security professionals, which are not so much as mobile developers. And then we have other people, engineering manager. I would say that it's good that developers are becoming more aware of these and will protect more their applications. The problem comes a bit in the last two graphs. So for the graph that you can see from the frequency of mobile app security testing, more than half is actually security just integrated once a week or more. Some of them are actually just done only once, which is, I mean, it's your choice, of course, but you are opening doors that might really lead to dangerous outcomes. And then regarding scans, when you're making scans in security testing tools, 54% are actually manual scans, so someone actually looks at the code and tries to identify if something is wrong. And 46% is automated scans, which is good. It means that people are using tools, and there's plenty of tools nowadays that are free and developer friendly. But the most kind of fascinating number is that these automation is only performed by 7% of the users. So these tools are very easy to integrate in CI/CD pipelines or just in the engineering process of companies, and still only 7% of people are actually doing it. And that's a number that can be a bit dangerous. And I hope by the end of this, it's higher. So this is how a typical, just for you guys to see how you can relate security with your development process. So when you're building an application, usually what you like to do is add some layers of protection to it. So for instance, MSTG made a good point that you have some free compiler technologies that you can enable. There's also free libraries that you can use that harden your application. You can use obfuscation, you can use RASP checks, you can use plenty of products that help hardening your application. Then you have testing. And after you think your application is done, right, we ship it, you have plenty of tools that you can run your, that can scan your application, see if they actually find something is wrong. We're going to see Appstrip, which is a product that we have, that basically does an analysis on your application. Then you ship it, and then you run it. And when you're running, it's also important that you have some real-time threat monitoring that feeds you back information about what's going on. If people are trying to break into your application, and if they are trying funny things, and if yes, what are they even trying, or what is even happening? So before we go to the CI/CD component and I show you how you can integrate and actually read the security report, these are some recommendations that I think that we want to share with everybody, and they are incredibly valuable. It's important that if you don't know when to start in security, or you want to have a minimal level of confidence in your security, in your applications, you can follow the OWASP projects for whatever it is. It doesn't have to be only mobile. They are incredibly valuable and provide amazing information. They also free and open source as questions or anything you can communicate. You can use automated tools that can easily fit into a development process for fast feedback. We're going to see exactly this in the next slides. And that's a good thing about it. It's automated, you don't have to worry, just run your normal pipeline. You can have a good or reliable security assessment. And then you can, or you should complement your automated tests with periodic pen testing reviews, because pen testing is really when people go in depth, and you should have a completely clear and full overview of the things that are right and wrong in your application. So integrating automatic mobile app security testing and pipeline. We're going to use Appstrip, which is a tool where you can provide us your mobile application, and we can make an analysis for you about the issues that they have or not. And we're going to talk about how you can easily integrate it with Jenkins, Bitrise, or GitHub Actions and CI/CD. So first of all, Appstrip security. Is it something scary, not scary, easy to do? So this is the normal layout that you see in Appstrip. This is a normal main page. You see you have 4 projects. You can have night pipelines, just whatever projects you want to do. Tests is up to you. And inside of each of these projects, you can basically provide whichever APK you want. And after you provide an app, whatever app you want, and after you provide an app, you will find a report like this. So on the left side, you can see, there's also some graphics and some more information, but this is the important part. On the left side, you can see a list of all the things that you can find that are wrong in an application. They are sorted from the highest priority, which means the more dangerous it is, to the lowest priority, which means things that you're not doing correctly, they are somehow exploitable, but not major. You can press any of them, and if you press any of them, on the right side, you'll see a very, I'll say, clean and direct report. You can see in the title what is your issue. You can see how many times that issue shows up in your code. You find the code snippet where the problem is, so you know exactly where you have to go and fix it. And in the right side, you have the recommendations, which is basically what you should be doing to improve it. Most of the things are just small code changes, sometimes a bit more complex, but still you have a complete analysis of what you should be doing. And then you have external links to either the issue, the CV report, or the OWASP finding, or the OWASP documentation related to it, where you can explore a bit more and see a bit more what's going on. So if you want to integrate them in your pipeline or in your CI/CD environment, it's quite easy. On your project, as any or most projects have, you have API keys. You just go to your API keys tab and you generate a new set of API keys that then you can use for your project and share with your team as you want. You can also have project members, and they can all share. You can define the level of access that they have, but basically you fetch your API keys. Then if you want to integrate with Bitrise, the first step that you have to do is basically storing your API keys in secrets, because that's the safest way you can do it. That's the industry way to do it. You just start in the secrets. And then all you need to do is simply search for Appstrip on the Bitrise step. And we have our tool step in Bitrise. You just have to integrate it. If the keys are there, the next time you run your pipeline, you will see that you have an Appstrip component on it. You expand it, and then you have a direct link to your analysis. And that's as simple as that. You just have to do these 2 steps. If you're integrated on Jenkins, it's a bit, I'll say, as simple as Bitrise. The only thing you have to do is add the plugin to your APK or to your application. And then you just make on the stages a new stage, which is, I don't know, upload to Appstrip or testing, whatever you wish to name it. And then basically you just go to your project directory, you get your credentials, you set those credentials in your environment, and then you just do Gradle upload to Appstrip debug. I'm gonna say which commands you can do in the next slide. So in this case, if of course you say upload to Appstrip debug, you upload the debug version. If you do release, the release version. And then in the pipeline, you also have a link to the report where you can find all the findings associated. If you just want to add, the keys to the Gradle plugin, you can also just add the Gradle plugin. You just add the plugins and then the plugin of Appstrip on your Gradle, and then you just apply it and you specify your Webpack key, and then you can run the two commands I mentioned: upload to Appstrip debug and upload to Appstrip release, and then you can very easily also integrate it with GitHub Actions and CI/CD. So, for conclusion, mobile security should be taken seriously, and it's a real threat, and it's something that more and more is becoming an issue in the industry, and people should be at least know what to do when they want to start and how to protect it. And mobile application security is actually quite easy to achieve, and it can really, really improve the confidence and security you have in your app. And for that, you can also just be informed about what tools or which right tools to use that are friendly, and you can just very easily integrate them into your CI/CD pipelines, and that way you can have a much more high level of confidence in your application. And that was it. That's all I have for today. So I see that there are some questions. How can...
Questions at all?
Okay, so the question is this only for Android? Are there any recommended tools for iOS? Do I reply or do you reply, Ryan?
No, please go ahead.
Okay, so yes, for now, this tool is mostly for Android, but there's plans for iOS soon. About iOS, I actually don't know. But yeah, for now it's only Android, but soon there will be also iOS.
Yeah, we will be adding iOS early on this year. We've got right now and hope to have some solution available for users.
Any more questions?
Andre, I'm not seeing in the question window, but one question. What are some examples of some that have been added to Appstrip for developers? I know you've been combing through the categories and requirements. What are some of the interesting ones?
Sorry, can you just repeat it? You are breaking in my presentation, sorry.
What are some of the interesting apps we recently?
Yeah. So I would say that some of the most... okay, so I'm just getting information that if I have any more questions, you can ask in the community, and we just have 1 minute left. So maybe what I can do is reply in the community, and then everybody can see, because I don't want to overextend the time.